The Trump administration has a new mandate for millions of federal workers who are now used to working from home. He says, President Trump, they return to the office or they resign. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy has the details on the buyouts now being offered. Good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning, Ainsley. Everybody that works for the federal government got an email last night from their management that says if they reply resign by next Thursday, they don't have to return to the office. Part of this email says, if you resign under this program, you will retain all pay and benefits regardless of your daily workload and will be exempted from all applicable in-person work requirements until September 30th, 2025. The White House believes $100 billion taxpayer dollars could be saved based on this back-of-the-napkin math. 2 million total federal employees. 6% of them work full-time in the office. 200,000 of them are expected to take this buyout. Retired General Mark Milley also got a notification from the federal government last night. He's suspected of usurping the chain of command during Trump's first term, so he is losing his security detail, and he might lose his star. The Pentagon tells us the secretary informed General Milley today that he's revoking the authorization for his security detail and suspending his security clearance as well. The secretary has also directed the DoD IG to conduct an inquiry into the facts and circumstances surrounding General Milley's conduct so that the secretary may determine whether it is appropriate to reopen his military grade review determination. The Trump administration also bringing big new changes to the briefing room.
We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House. Starting today, this seat in the front of the room, which is usually occupied by the press secretary's staff, will be called the new media seat.
And some big news out of that briefing right off the top. After President Trump pledged in the Oval Office last week to get us all information about those drones over New Jersey a couple weeks back, he sent Karoline out with the answers. She read from a presidential memo. They were FAA authorized drones that were joined by some hobbyists. They were not the enemy. Ainsley?
All right. Thank you so much, Peter. Let's bring in Kaylee McGhee White, Restoring America editor at the Washington Examiner and Steamboat Institute Blankley Fellow. Good morning to you, Kaylee.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me play, just for our audience, in case they were at work and they didn't see the briefing, let me play a montage of a little bit of what she said yesterday.
We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices.
How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. It is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. While I vow to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard.
Now, Kaylee, I think it's smart of her that the first beginning part of that soundbite, she said she's opening up these press briefings to more people, to the younger audience, too. She's going to include influencers in the press room. She's going to include podcasters, independent journalists, not just the legacy media, she says, both sides of the aisle. And she said she's going to restore press passes for 440 journalists whose press passes were wrongfully revoked, she says, by the Biden administration. Are you Gen Z? You're a Gen Zer. As a Gen Zer, how do you feel about this?
Well, I think it's a great move. And again, as a Gen Zer, it is undeniably true that my generation engages with the news and consumes content differently than older generations. And the Trump White House clearly understands that. We're more likely to get our news from social media. In fact, a poll last year found that more than 70% of Gen Zers get their news on a daily basis from places like Instagram or TikTok. Now, I'm not going to comment on whether that's a good thing, but it's just true. We're also more likely to engage with independent forms of media that don't necessarily fit neatly within the political spectrum. And again, the Trump campaign realized this, and he met Gen Zers where they were at on the campaign trail by engaging in different forms of podcasts. And look at the results. He was able to shift a sizable portion of Gen Z to the right. And even today, his recent approval ratings show that the generation most likely to support his recent actions is Gen Z. He's winning over young adults, and in order to keep them engaged with this administration and supportive, bringing in the people that they listen to the White House briefing room is a great way to start.
And Kaylee, she did it without a notebook and very few notes. Thank you so much, Kaylee, for coming on. Great to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.